We're in Yerushalmi Peah Daf Mem Gimel in the Ozvater print, and two quick aras, one global and one specific, but also global. So the first ara is that the Gemara does a classic thing on the top of Mem Gimel Bet Aleph. So basically, the Gemara asks there's a stira, and then it doesn't answer it. So the Mefarshim all scramble. What do you do with this? And this is very common. It's very interesting because, as a psychologist, my first thought is to psychoanalyze, but of course that's not what we're doing. We're trying to understand how to think like the Torah. So basically, when I see a kasha, but I don't see a taret, so there's a certain avoidance there, but then maybe the solution is that that's exactly why it's called makal noam, that they're just pleasant, that they don't want to be confrontational. But then you have a massive machlokes, so there's a stira of, which actually is going to tie into my second ara, but basically, so if the shikha or the peah got mixed in, so you owe the ani what is the normal amount that would normally fall. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then there's actually a stira that there's two definitions of how much that is. So you have the Marapanim and the Sadi Yeshua and the Gra, they all have different pshatim as to, well, what is the Gemara's conclusion? Because the Gemara didn't actually answer the question. But the truth is that I actually wonder, I have this theory that oftentimes the Yerushalmi doesn't answer things, so it's probably because it presumes the answer is obvious, like either you shouldn't have that question, or it's the Bavli's form of teku. I'm not sure, but it's just very fascinating to watch. This happens much more frequently in the Bavli, in the Yerushalmi than in the Bavli. The Bavli actually sometimes answers these questions or doesn't even bring down these mamar. Anyway, let's move on to my second R, which is very interesting. So the Gemara basically talks about what is shikha, and shikha we know is that when you forgot something. But then what's forgetting? Because I had in mind to get it, but then I just didn't end up getting it. So there's a Tosefta in Parak Gimel, Halacha Chav Beis, that basically says that unpicked fruits are called forgotten, and therefore they're shikha if the harvester turns away from the tree. But then we have Rav Chia over here that explains that that's not exactly what it means. That's only if they weren't within the reach of the harvester's hand. But if they were, then just because he turned away doesn't mean he forgot them. And I just want to make a global comment. First of all, even in the Gemara Shita about what that amount was, the normal amount to peah, right? We know is a very minimal amount to field, and the normal amount to shikha. The Gemara gives a very very small number. So, the amount of charity that was being given here was not that much. Again, there's an inyan of being makbid and erring on the side of caution to give that extra money. But the shikha don't think that it was a tremendous amount. However, I could see, and again, not to make fun, but I could see a brisker in their field clearing on every single thing. Is that shikha? Is that shikha? Because it is very complicated if you go through it. Exactly at what point is it considered shikha? At what point is it considered just a normal thing that it's there? I had my mind on it. Shikha's kri for a bundle, or shikha's of each individual fruit. But I want to just say one ha'ara. There's a famous Sefer Hasidim, and the Sefer Hasidim, it's in Tzava. I believe it's in the Sefer as well. He says a couple of things. He says that one is not allowed to polish in his Tzava for his children and grandchildren. He says that one should not polish their shoes on Friday. And another thing he says is that one should not, once you leave your house to go somewhere, you shouldn't go back, even if you forgot something. So there are people that are very mocked on all these things. We know the Kiyadua, the famous Shita of the Noda B'Yehuda, that is only for his grandchildren, for his children and his family, and doesn't apply to anyone else, which actually makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. For one, the famous one about him saying not to name anyone Shimon or Yehuda. Yehuda was his name, and Shmuel or Yehuda. Shmuel was his father's name, and if it applies to everyone, it's just not true. I mean, people name their kids that, but if it applies to his descendants, maybe he didn't want to have any pressure on them. Whatever it is, for Yaakov Kamenetsky's famous pshat. But anyway, suffice it to say, the Chida says this pshat, and Rav Ruven Magalius brings it down as a whole theme explaining the Sefer Hasidim, that what's this pshat that you're not supposed to shine your shoes on Shabbos? It's on Friday. It's because Shabbos represents Olam Haba, and Misha Tarach be'erev Shabbos v'yochel b'Shabbos. So the pshat is that he wanted to teach his children that they should always. The Stipler, I think, says a similar part as well, that they should always be thinking about Friday, which is so to speak, the last day on earth before a person goes to the Olam Emes, which is Shabbos, Yom Shekulo Shabbos, and Menucha. So he wanted to embed in them this idea that don't wait till the last minute to shine your shoes for the Shabbos. Prepare ahead of time, which is a brilliant thing to have that in your family legacy. And the second thing about not going back when you forgot something is the same thing. That once you leave your house, it represents Olam Haza. That if a person leaves, there's no coming back. I know there's something Gilgulim, etc. L'chor, the Sefer Hasidim actually holds that as well. But still, our job is to be the best people that we can be in this world while we're here. Arba lo yeshivenu. We don't get four chances. So he wanted to instill in them that you left the house, okay, that's it, it's too late. You should understand that musig in life, that it's too late, which is a brilliant thing. So I wanted to suggest that maybe shikha has something to do with this as well. That when you're going through your field, and then all of a sudden you forgot something, so you're kind of disappointed at yourself. It puts your life in perspective. It makes you recognize that I'm not here for Olam Hazeh. I'm not here for the physical part. I recognize, okay, give it to an ani. There's no going back. That's the musig of shikha. Is this idea, and I mentioned this earlier, a beautiful Tosefta that literally, the Tosefta says there's no other mitzvah that you get a mitzvah when you forget something. We talked about whether it's true or not, but some kashas on that, but other things. But anyway, the Tosefta says that someone brought a carbon because they forgot shikha. They said Hashem rewards me with his beautiful mitzvah d'oraisa because I forgot something. That's a tremendous thing. Zachar al tishkach is the Torah is usually mindfulness and being there, but here someone forgets, the Torah turned into a mitzvah, which is a beautiful thing. But here there's another element that when someone forgets, that Hashem says, I want you to take a lesson out of it and recognize that you can't go back and fix it. Just like in Olam Hazeh, let's use our time wisely and let's make sure that we fulfill our purpose. Thank you for joining and have a great day.